Welcome to my storytelling channel, where small slices of life are illuminated by the light of memories, of sadness, of things left unsaid. Today I invite you to join me on an ordinary morning, but it is the beginning of an unexpected ending. I used to think that when tragedy strikes, it would come with thunder, with wind slamming the shutters, or at the very least, a door slammed shut in anger. But no, that morning it arrived with sunlight, gentle golden light pouring through the kitchen window, catching the floating dust in the air like stars drifting through space. It was peaceful, too peaceful, cruel even. I sat there, my fingers wrapped around a cup of coffee that had gone bitter. Not because I brewed it wrong, but because something inside me had turned. A quiet kind of bitterness, one that doesn't touch your tongue, but settles in your chest. Across from me sat Elise, my wife of 5 years. The woman I once loved with such certainty, such clarity, I never imagined I'd one day struggle to recognize her across the breakfast table. She held the morning newspaper, eyes skimming across the print, but not really reading. Her hand stirred her tea in slow, aimless circles, the kind of motion you make when your thoughts are somewhere else entirely. To my right was Clara, Elise's daughter, 18, brilliant, and always distant. She typed endlessly on her phone, her face illuminated by the cold glow of the screen. No good morning, no eye contact, just silence and the rhythmic tapping of glass. We'd lived like this for 5 years, 5 quiet years of routine dinners, birthday cards without flowers, and vacations that never left the calendar. I couldn't remember the last time Elise smiled at me, not politely, but really smiled. The kind of smile that makes you believe the world is still good. That morning, when she folded the paper and set it down, just a little too neatly, I knew. I knew something was coming, something irreversible. The way she held the edge of the page, as if steadying herself before a fall. The way she bit her lip, not in flirtation, but in fear. No one screamed, no tears were shed. Just a silence so heavy it bent the air. And I held my cup a little tighter, as if the warmth might shield me from the cold I felt coming. My eyes never left hers, waiting, hoping, like a fool who still believes that maybe, just maybe, things could be fixed with a single sentence, even though he no longer knows what he did wrong. Elise sat a little straighter, her fingers still resting on the folded newspaper. I noticed the way she pressed her lips together, an old habit of hers, a signal, a moment of hesitation, a deep breath, the kind you take before stepping into cold water or saying something you can never take back. "Lucian," she said, barely above a whisper, "there's something I need to tell you." I didn't speak, just gently placed my coffee cup down. The porcelain made a soft clink against the wood, barely audible, yet in that moment it felt deafening. "I'm listening," I said, my voice calm, too calm. Inside, my heart was pounding like a trapped bird in my chest. Clara lifted her gaze from her phone. A glance, a smirk. Not one of joy, but the kind teenagers wear when they think they're one step ahead. She always had that look, part judgment, part amusement. Elise took another breath. Her eyes didn't flinch. "I'll be leaving for a month." Those words fell into the quiet kitchen like a stone dropped in a still lake. No explanation, no build-up. Just a fact delivered with practiced precision. I didn't blink, but something inside me did shift. Something cracked. "With Adrian," she added. Adrian, her ex-husband, the man whose name hadn't been spoken in this house for years, the same man who once left her crying on my doorstep, shaking from the things he'd said and done. And now, she was going back. "It's his birthday," she said almost apologetically. "He's alone. I thought I'd do something kind." Kind. That word twisted in my chest. "So he needs a gift," I said, my voice dry. "And that gift is you?" "Don't be cruel, Lucian," Elise replied, sharper now. "I'm being honest. I'm telling you before I go. That has to count for something." "Truth doesn't make betrayal any softer," I answered. Then came Clara's voice, casual, cold. "She has the right to do what she wants. You don't own her." I looked at Clara, really looked at her, and I saw it. Not just support, but complicity. She wasn't surprised. She knew. She helped. Perhaps she even encouraged it. I turned back to Elise, my voice steady. If you're leaving, then I have terms of my own. And that was the moment I stopped being the man holding his breath and became the man who was done waiting. In that instant, I realized if she wanted freedom, I would give her more than that. I'd give her the space to fall without me there to catch her. There was a moment, a stillness after I said it. Elise looked at me as if I had just changed the rules of a game she thought she'd mastered. Terms? She echoed, frowning. I nodded slowly. My tone never changed. Calm, almost too calm. You want 1 month to be with Adrian? That's your choice. But during that month, we will be legally separated. Her lips parted, the beginnings of protest caught between her teeth. You'll waive all financial support from me, I continued. No bills, no credit cards, no favors, for you or for Clara. Clara scoffed from her seat, but I didn't even look at her. And in return, I said, I get the same freedom. No expectations, no obligations. Elise leaned back in her chair, arms folded across her chest. So that's it? She said. You want a free pass to sleep around? Is that what this is? I shook my head almost gently. No, I replied. I want peace. I want dignity. And I want out of this arrangement where I carry everyone while you rewrite the story. Clara muttered something under her breath, some biting remark about control and power, but I let it slide. For now. You're serious, Elise finally said. Dead serious. Fine, she snapped. Draw up your damn documents. I'll sign whatever you want. There was steel in her voice, but not conviction, more like pride masking panic. Good, I said, because once you walk out that door, Elise, it won't be my house you're returning to. That silenced the room. Even Clara stopped tapping her phone. I turned to her slowly. And Clara, during this separation, I won't be paying for your phone, your university, your car, nothing. You want independence? You get it. Her expression changed just for a second. Not fear, not regret, but a flicker of uncertainty, the first crack in her perfect teenage disdain. My dad will help me, she mumbled. Then he should, I said. Let's see how far that help goes. Elise stood up too quickly. She was angry, yes, but more than that, she was shaken. This wasn't how she had imagined it. She thought she could wound me and walk away untouched, but I had bled enough already. You wanted space, I said quietly. Now you have it. And just like that, the terms were set. The lines drawn, the facade of a quiet breakfast shattered into something far colder. That was the last morning we were ever husband and wife in the quiet sense. From that moment on, we were opponents dressed in politeness, speaking in legalese, and standing on opposite sides of a marriage already dead. The days that followed were quiet, almost too quiet, the kind of silence that settles over a house not with peace, but with tension so thick it clings to the walls. Elise began to pack, not with shame, not even with hesitation. No, she packed with the strange energy of someone excited for a vacation, folding dresses into a suitcase, humming to herself under her breath. I stood at the bedroom doorway, arms crossed, watching, not interrupting, just observing. Clara helped. She moved from drawer to drawer, tossing shirts and scarves, offering suggestions like they were planning a weekend in the south of France. Take the black one, Clara said, the one Dad gave you for your birthday. It'll drive Adrian crazy. That word, Dad, still stung, a reminder that no matter how many school runs or tuition bills I covered, I had always been a visitor in her narrative, a ghost in someone else's house. You don't have anything better to do than stare? Elise asked as she zipped her bag shut. I raised an eyebrow. I just came to say goodbye, I replied, voice steady. That's all. Then do it and leave, she said. I will, I said. Just, drive safe. Marcus's place is on the other side of town, right? I saw Clara glance at me, momentarily puzzled by the name slip. But I didn't correct it. Whether it was Adrian, Marcus, or whatever other man she chose to revisit, it made no difference anymore. They left just before dusk. Elise swept through the living room like a hotel guest checking out. Clara trailed behind her with a smug grin, suitcase rolling behind like a badge of victory. Neither of them looked at me. I followed them to the front porch. leaned on the railing as the engine started. The car, a beat-up old thing, groaned as they pulled away. "Drive safe," I called after them, just loud enough for the wind to carry. Clara rolled the window down and shouted back, "You'll regret this, Lucienne. You just made the biggest mistake of your life." And then they were gone. The street fell silent again. No car, no voices, just me, and the creaking of wood beneath my feet. Inside, the house felt hollow, but my chest felt clear. I poured myself a glass of whiskey, let it burn its way down. For the first time in what felt like years, I didn't feel the weight of someone else's secrets pressing on my lungs. That night I slept. No midnight alerts, no glowing phone screen on Elise's side of the bed, just darkness and quiet. They thought I'd fall apart, that I'd beg or break or chase after the chaos they chose. But I didn't. I let them go, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. The first 3 days were unsettling. Not because I missed them, but because silence, when you're not used to it, can feel like guilt at first. A trick of the mind whispering, "Shouldn't someone be here? Shouldn't something be wrong?" But nothing was wrong. I brewed my coffee in the morning without the ache in my stomach. I read the newspaper cover to cover without glancing across the table, wondering if her tea had gone cold. The house was no longer a stage for silent wars. It was mine again. I started small. The first thing I did was cancel both of their phone lines. They were under my name after all. It wasn't revenge. It was math. If Elise wanted a new life, she could fund it with her own accounts. Clara, too. She was legally an adult, though she wore entitlement like perfume. Next, I called the dealership and sold Clara's car. The very one I paid for, that she drove like it was her birthright. I always remembered her complaints. "This isn't even the color I like." Well, now she wouldn't have to worry about the color anymore. I sold Elise's car too, the one she posed with for Instagram stories. "Grateful," she used to caption, as if she had earned it. Then I did the only thing that truly mattered. I drained the joint account, all of it. Not in anger, but in clarity. That account held our vacation savings, our emergency buffer, and a sizable chunk of Clara's university fund. But I was the one who filled it. Every paycheck, every bonus, every sacrifice. I transferred it into a private offshore account I'd opened weeks prior, quietly, carefully, legally. If Clara wanted to attend university, perhaps her father could help, or Elise, or Adrian, or Marcus, or whichever name he used when he wasn't shouting. I thought I'd feel guilt, but all I felt was relief. With the house under my name, I contacted the lawyer and filed for a temporary eviction notice, effective the day their month ended. I changed the locks. I called the utilities. I scrubbed my name off anything connected to them. It wasn't cruelty, it was closure. You don't get to burn someone's trust and expect them to leave the door unlocked. You don't get to betray someone and still collect their kindness like a paycheck. That month apart wasn't a pause. It was a reset, and this time I wasn't resetting for them. I was doing it for me. By day 5, the silence began to shatter. It started with phone calls, first from Elise, twice an hour, then 3 times. She left no messages, just missed calls blinking on my screen like little alarms of a past I no longer answered to. I didn't pick up. Then Clara started. Her messages were more colorful. "Pick up the phone, Lucian. We know what you did. Mom's card was declined. Call me back." I took a slow sip of whiskey and let it go to voicemail. They were panicking. The money was gone. The car's gone. The plan they had so confidently stitched together, unraveling. The landline rang. I had forgotten to unplug it. It buzzed and echoed in the quiet of the living room, like an old ghost refusing to fade. I stared at it for a long moment before answering, just to end the noise. "Where are you?" Elise demanded before I could speak. "I've called. Clara's called. You're acting like a child." "I'm busy," I replied flatly, "tending to my needs. Isn't that what we're all doing now?" "This isn't funny, Lucian," she snapped. "You drained the account. That money was mine," I interrupted calmly. "And legally, I had every right. You signed the separation agreement, remember?" A pause. That money was for Clara's education. For us. No, I said. It was for a life you walked away from. You made your choice, Elise. You don't get the benefits of the old life while living a new one. I hung up before she could find another excuse. For the next 2 days, they kept trying. Texts, calls, even voicemails laced with half-threats and desperation. At one point, Clara shouted into my inbox, "You'll regret this. I'll sue you. My dad says we have a case." I saved the message, not out of fear, but to remember what gaslighting sounded like when it came from a child. Clara had always wanted me to keep paying, keep providing, while she helped push her mother back into the arms of a man who once shattered her. For what? Nostalgia? Power? Maybe she thought she was winning, but she didn't understand. I was no longer playing. Fallout is never instant. It spreads slowly, like ash after a fire, settling into every corner. But what they never expected was that I had already stepped out of the burn zone. And now, I was watching the smoke from a distance. It was a Tuesday, mid-morning. The sky was pale, undecided between rain and sun, the kind of weather that feels like a metaphor you don't quite understand until the day ends. The movers had just finished loading the last of my personal belongings. Boxes of books, a leather chair, the lamp Elise hated. My life reduced to careful cubes of detachment. And then I heard it. Tires grinding gravel, a car door slamming. Voices, loud, angry, familiar. They were here, Elise and Clara. The car was different, older, louder, probably Adrian's. It stuttered into the driveway like an unwanted memory. Clara was the first to leap out, her face twisted in fury. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" She stormed toward me, fists clenched, steps fast and shallow. A child who never learned the difference between tantrum and truth. "That's my stuff," she yelled, pointing at the boxes. "That's my desk, my chair." "Everything here," I said calmly, turning to the movers, "is registered under my name, paid for with my money. If there's any item they wish to claim, they can speak to my lawyer." A silence, sharp and sudden. The lead mover, a large, quiet man with kind eyes and a shaved head, nodded. Clara tried to push past him, but he simply held out a hand. "Ma'am, you're not allowed on the premises while we're working," he said firmly. Elise rushed forward. "Don't touch my daughter." "Then control her," I said coldly, stepping forward, "because the next person who lays a hand on anything here will be talking to the police." She froze, lips parted in disbelief. This wasn't the man she had left behind 2 weeks ago. That man was gone. "Lucian, this is still our home," she hissed. "You can't just throw us out." I nodded toward the front door. "Notice of eviction. Signed, delivered, and legally filed. You wanted a month away, not a lifetime." Clara's voice cracked, high and furious. "You promised me a future, a university, a life. You helped destroy the one I gave you," I said flatly. "Actions have consequences." Tears welled in her eyes, though whether from sadness or pride cracking, I couldn't tell. She lunged toward me, arms swinging wildly. Rage and panic made flesh, but the mover stepped in again, gently but firmly blocking her. "That's enough," he said. Then Elise. Her voice broke, a whisper clawing for control. "You're a heartless bastard, Lucian." "No," I replied. "I was your shelter, until you traded me in for a storm." They came expecting a man still bleeding, still begging, but I wasn't that man anymore. The confrontation didn't shatter me, it solidified me. And as they stood there, shouting in a driveway that no longer belonged to them, I realized this was closure, not through forgiveness, but through boundaries. They left in a whirlwind of slammed doors and shouted threats. Elise's voice trembling with fury, Clara's with something sharper, more personal, humiliation. And then, silence again. Not peaceful this time, but scorched. I watched their car disappear around the corner, a trail of smoke and desperation behind it. And when the dust settled, I did not feel victorious. Just finished. The next morning, the phone rang. A number I didn't recognize, but I answered. Some part of me already knew. "Mr. Lucian Moreau?" "Speaking. This is Adrian's attorney. I'm calling on behalf of Elise Moreau." Of course. The man on the line spoke with the dry tone of someone paid to sound serious. He used words like abandonment, psychological harm, coercive control. He threatened court dates, claimed I had failed in my duties, that I had left Clara, a dependent minor, without financial support. I listened. Then I smiled. Clara is 18. I never adopted her, and her mother signed a voluntary legal separation. Feel free to file anything you wish. My lawyer will be delighted. The call ended quickly after that. That evening, my lawyer, a sharp, quiet man named Laurent, filed for divorce, with all the evidence, the private investigator's reports, the messages, the voice recordings, the signed agreement, all in order, all undeniable. The fallout was official. A few days later, I received news from a mutual friend. Elise and Clara had moved in with Adrian full-time, but it wasn't the happy ending they'd imagined. Adrian, it seemed, hadn't changed. The same temper, the same long nights with too much whiskey. One evening, Elise had come home late from a grocery run, and Adrian had slapped her, hard, just like before. And Clara, the girl who once sneered at buses, now took one every morning. Her car was gone, her tuition unpaid. Her classmates whispered, wondered. She blamed me, of course, but I wasn't there to hear it. Collapse doesn't always look like rubble and screaming. Sometimes it looks like silence, like sitting on a stained couch in a house that no longer feels like salvation, like realizing the bridges you burned were the only way back.